I don't know if you're aware of this. I think you are because I'm pretty certain Dan Shulman mentioned that he mentioned it to you. But as we go into tonight's game against the Tigers, you have now managed 162 games in the majors, a full season. You are 94-68, which is a really good record. Just wondering what you've learned about yourself over 162 games in the bigs. And I know you were well prepared for this job. That was pretty clear. But has there been a part of it that perhaps caught you a little unawares?
Great to talk to you guys, as always. There's been parts, I think, you learn on the fly a little bit. You get prepared as prepared as you can for every game, every series. And this is something that, a goal of mine professionally to be in this position. And I think that, things that catch you off guard are more things that happen, within the day, not during the game. I think that the work that we do to get prepared for the game is really, really detailed, and it allows you to be pretty agile within the game. But I think it's kind of just the ins and outs of getting used to the lifestyle. I talk about it with my wife even sometimes, how you're just kind of in high demand from everyone, whether it be players, staff, front office, media. You're kind of just on all the time. So I think just getting adjusted to that and how to manage your day, that's been the biggest thing. But again, wouldn't change any of it for the world.
I mean, you've got a bigger staff, obviously, than you did when you were managing in the minor leagues. How much have you had to learn, or did you have to learn, sort of the balance between delegating and retaining control over a certain number of things?
Yeah, I try to do that even in the minor leagues, where you try to empower the coaches that are around you to kind of, reach their full potential and be very, very fulfilled with what they're doing as well. So there is a fine line. I do think it's pretty unique that I've been with these guys for a number of years. And Jeff Ware, I worked with a lot in the minor leagues. So, excuse me, I'm very comfortable with them. So I have no problem delegating and knowing that the job is going to get done or the message will get delivered the right way. So I think just being familiar with the staff is a big thing. Leads to easier conversations. I think we all kind of know how we operate on a day-to-day basis, and it leads to some fun too. So I think they all know exactly what I'm trying to get across, and they do a great job helping me out with it.
John, I've told this story many times about it. What the coolest thing about being a big leaguer, obviously, other than the paycheck, is much bigger than the minor leagues. But it's the little things, right? It's wearing a uniform that actually fits. It's going into a rack with all kinds of bats, and you're basically just picking one. It's okay to do that, right? Instead of having to buy them at the minor league level. As a manager of the Blue Jays through 162 games, is there something cool that sticks out to you that maybe that you don't talk about all the time?
Wow, great question. I think everyone kind of falls back on the travel. The paycheck's good and the gear is good and all that kind of stuff. But I think we're treated really well, and it's not just me; it's everyone. By the way we fly, the hotels we stay in, the actual rooms of the hotels. I think that part can get lost in the shuffle when you're doing it day in, day out. But I try to take a step back and just appreciate where I am. Each kind of city we land in, it's easy to get spoiled in a hurry. So I try to take a step back and understand, that I've worked hard to get here, and want to continue to do so to stay here. So it's the little things, like that to me that jump out. It's the way we travel, where we stay in these nice cities.
Okay, let's get right to it. Alek Manoah is starting tonight. I don't know if you've noticed, but he's scheduled to start tonight against the Detroit Tigers. Yeah. It's first you heard of that, huh? He obviously, the first thing that would stick out to people that follow the Blue Jays and follow Alek Manoah is that he made 13 starts at the big league level. He got sent down, and he only made 2 starts, about 8 innings, right? Wasn't a huge sample size. And I think the first question that people would ask is, why so soon, right? Why this early, right? It's been right around a month, 4 weeks, somewhere in that range of when he was last in the big leagues. That's not a very big sample size. And that's the question is, what exactly did you guys learn from those 2 small sample sizes that would tell you that Alek is ready to come back and be somewhat of the Alek Manoah that we're used to seeing?
Well, for one, I think you look at his track record and you look at what he's done so far in the big leagues, which is a very, very good sample size. And you look at this year, however many starts it was, I believe 13, something like that. And we weren't trying to totally overhaul a player. We weren't starting from scratch. So I think when you look at his time in the minors, we were taking into account too, bullpens, work in the lab, just facing hitters. It wasn't, strictly the outing in Florida and the outing in New Hampshire. It was everything else that kind of went into his daily work when he was down there. So I think that's what led us to feel comfortable to say, okay, you're ready. And again, we never put a time frame on it. So I think when you're dealing with a pitcher of his caliber, I've said it before, he'll tell you when he's ready. So it wasn't like he needed to be built up. He wasn't starting the season from scratch. So I think that really didn't put like a traditional timeline on it, So the pitch count was going to be there. And I think we were just really focused on the small tweaks he was working on and kind of checking those boxes as he went, and felt that because he is such a talented pitcher, he didn't need, numerous or a handful or 6 or 7 outings in the minor leagues just to do that. But once everything was where we wanted it to be, you trust the talent of the pitcher.
What are you most excited to be looking for? First inning, he rolls out there, he grabs the ball. I'm assuming it's Kirk. He pushes the right button. He gives the glove, the target where he wants it to go. Is there one specific thing you're looking for? It could be tempo, mechanics, aggression. Like, is there one thing, optics of how he looked, when he left to how he looks now? Is there a certain thing that you're going to really be honing in on and going, hey, yeah, I kind of like that. It looks a little bit better.
Well, for one, it's going to start in the clubhouse. I already saw him in the hotel today. Great demeanor. You're looking for Alek to be Alek, and he's a big personality first and foremost. So looking for that, and excited to see that again and to have that presence in our clubhouse. And then I think it's kind of just, strike one. I think the biggest thing we'll be looking at is delivery and the tempo in that delivery, and then strike throwing. So hopefully it's, boom, first pitch is there and away we go. And he just maintains everything he's been working on. But I think it's delivery of tempo, and then it's just his overall presence. You've all seen him in the dugout when he's pitching and when he's not pitching, and he's very active. He's a big part of kind of the camaraderie in there. So those are the two things that I'll be looking at.
John, how much does it help Alek that he is rejoining the team at a time where, by and large, you are getting really good mileage out of your 4 starters, right? I mean, Gossman's going to the All-Star game. He's been terrific. Kikuchi, Barrios, Chris Bassett. You got 4 guys who are really in a nice rhythm and a nice flow right now. And from where I sit, at least, you're bringing Alek into a good situation as opposed to bringing him into a situation where perhaps, the bullpen was taxed or somebody else was hurt and you've only got 2 starters. And, boy, you really need Alek to go 6 tonight. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah, I think it's going to be exciting just to have him for one. And I think that, you look at the workload with our starters too, and, hopefully it kind of just resets everyone a little bit. That being said, we wouldn't have done this without, being very confident in the other 4 guys and knowing what they were capable of too. So I'm sure it'll be a breath of fresh air for the staff, for the whole team here. Everyone's excited to get back around him, but it's you can't speak enough to what the starters did and what the bullpen did in that month that he wasn't here with us. It's everyone kind of picked up the slack a little bit, and again, we wouldn't have done it that way if we didn't feel comfortable with the guys that we did have here.
I think I've heard Barrios come out and say something about the routine with the 4-man rotation. You can't do this. You got to adjust that. You're getting more rub downs than you are throwing programs. Like, there's certain things that you have to adjust. Heard Bassett come out, a couple of days ago talking about routines and, how excited they were to get a guy in here that can give him some length and just get back to being normal. Any conversations with the other 4 guys and asking, and maybe that sort of hurried the process along. That may be the wrong word to use, John, hurry, because I don't think the way your organization works and the way you think and Pete Walker think. You don't want to hurry the player back. But there is 4 dudes, that are trying to do their thing and pick up the slack for a guy that's trying to figure it out. Any conversations with them when it comes to, maybe it would be a good time to bring him back, instead of waiting another couple of weeks?
We talked to them throughout the whole time and again, kind of put this plan out in front of them, and they were on board with it and stayed in touch with them throughout it, And I think definitely wasn't hurried. We've said from the get-go that we were going to do what we thought was best for Alec, and then what's best for Alec is going to be best for the team. So there wasn't, there wasn't that like, okay, we need to get him back because everyone's tired. It's no, we thought things out and said when he's ready, he's going to be ready. And the other guys did pick up the slack, and they did have to adjust a little bit. And when you're dealing with, veteran dudes like Chris and Hosey and Cooch and Kev, they're up for that challenge. You know what I mean? They know their routines, they know their bodies and how they're feeling. And did they have to adjust at times? Yeah, sure. And I think no matter what the circumstance, you adjust your routine over the course of the year regardless. Some guys just, I think back to Robbie Ray, he never missed the bullpen. And then you look at Hyun-Jin Ryu, and he rarely throws a bullpen, So guys are different. So I think it was just them kind of working through that a little bit. They still got their work in and were prepared to go every time they were on the mound. And, again, it was, a combination of things of us feeling this was the right time for Alec. And, just the other guys throughout the whole process, I think, were very, very flexible with it, and I thought they handled it really well.
Don't want to get ahead of ourselves too much here, but the All-Star break is coming up. Have you guys got a plan for Alec to stay busy during that time, whether it's go back to the pitching lab or I don't know, go down to the pitch in a minor league game? And I can't imagine that. But I'm just wondering if there's a plan to sort of keep him busy while you reset the rotation coming out of the break.
Yeah, it'll be the same as everyone else, really. Just
okay.
Kind of mapping out when we're going to, roll everyone out after the break. Obviously, guys deserve, that 4-day break, too. So everyone's going to be staying busy and just in terms of throwing and getting off the mound, and shouldn't be a problem, sliding him into the rotation wherever we feel like is best.
Okay, let's move on. There is other guys on this team, and I'd love to ask you about Erik Swanson. Erik Swanson, hasn't been real good in his last 7 outings. It looks like he's laboring a little bit, right? It's trying to figure out the release point on the split finger, whatever. It's a marathon, not a sprint season. But I do wonder, he's got 41 games under his belt. Most he's had in a season was 2022 when he had 57 games. Getting real close to that number, John, right? It's 74 games left. You thinking he's probably going to have to blow past that just because of what he means to the pen and what he means to you. He's got predictability in him, and you need that down the stretch, especially when you're trying to win games. Any blueprint on how to handle a guy that may, have to blow by what or how many games he's used to throwing in a season?
Yeah, you look at it the same way when you're talking about starters adjusting their routine. It's the same thing for relief pitchers, just in terms of how they're playing catch. How often we're even trying to get them up during games to try to save some of those bullets. And I think you do look at it and you go, yeah, we have played in really close games, it seems like, throughout the year. And when those happen and guys are available, you want to put your leverage guys in those spots. And it seems like that's happened more often than not the first, half year. So definitely well aware of it. Swanee's well aware of it. And like anything, when you're really getting asked to go out and pitch in those spots, it does take a toll on you. So you work around it by, we're just going to have built-in days off. There's going to be days where, other guys are going to have to step up and probably take that spot, that inning. And we have guys that are capable of that. I think having Trevor Richards back in the pen now as a real weapon for us kind of, can play that role much like Erik can. And you got to just kind of take it a day at a time, almost a series at a time, and understand that, yes, we did ask a lot of you. So in turn, take care of everything you do every day. And when you're available, yeah, you're in there. And in the meantime, it's an opportunity for other guys to step up as well.
John, Whit Merrifield's obviously going to the All-Star game. He had a couple of home runs in the nightcap last night. He's been a guy that's been a contributor, obviously, to this team. What type of hitter do you think Whit Merrifield is at this stage in his career? Because I know he was talking to Hazel last night following the game. He talked about still trying to put his swing together and, kind of trying to figure out, not figure out who he is, but kind of figure out just how much power he can actually generate out of his swing. And I'm just wondering, for you, what type of hitter is he? And, what would be, for example, a good home run total for Whit?
I think a good home run total is, 10, double digits, I think, for a guy like him. But he's a really prepared hitter. He understands what pitchers are trying to do. I think you've seen it a few times where he'll swing and miss or foul a ball off and show a little bit of frustration because, he got a pitch he was looking for and didn't quite click it. But, again, it's really good bat-to-ball skills. We kind of joke with him about, some of the exit velo stuff that he ends up getting hits, and there's a reason why he's had the number of hits he's had in his career. He can spoil pitches that are close to 2 strikes, and he usually puts the ball in play, and he's a plus runner. So there's a lot of different ways. He takes his shots when he's in leverage counts, and again, he's not going to be a huge power threat, but I think that, he knows the times to kind of say, okay, I'm going to go for it, and he knows times to kind of, tone it down a little bit. And he's been doing it for a long time. You trust him to make contact. You trust him in situations with, runners at second and nobody out, runners at third with less than 2. Kind of just a professional hitter that understands the situation and how he's going to be pitched and reacts accordingly. He's been a really, really constant piece of us, our lineup this first half.
John, you've asked a lot from Dalton Varsho, right? Where you put him in the order, you ask him to be an on-base guy. You put him in certain parts of the lineup. You ask him to be a run producer. Sometimes that's a lot to ask a guy who's searching the lower half, right? It's the stride separation in the beginning of the season. It's the leg kick. He's a shorter hitter. That's why they're attacking with the elevated fastball. That's sort of what happens, right? You start hitting some homers, and then the smart guys start trying to figure out how to get you out. What's next for him offensively in your mind, for him, just an everyday player? What do you think, is the next step for him?
Yeah, for one, I think you hit the nail on the head to where, what I've asked of him, is not easy. And I've talked to him about that. It's something I don't like really doing, especially coming to a new team and I'm bouncing them all over the order. Not ideal from that standpoint based on, trying to match up against starters and how bullpens are built and trying to protect some guys. So he's going to continue to evolve. People forget that, too, that he's coming to a different league. He hasn't seen some of these pitchers quite as much as other guys and understanding where he's being pitched. So, what people don't know about this dude is how hard he works and how much he wants to help us win. And it's a constant adjustment with like it is with everybody. He's going to get, every chance to be an everyday guy, continue to be an everyday guy and be a big part of what we're doing. And he works his ass off every day with G and with Hunter and Hudgy, and confident that he's going to make some adjustments. So it's a never-ending adjustment period, and he understands that. I think that he puts in the work to continue to evolve as a hitter, and hopefully I can kind of, somewhat keep him in a familiar spot so he's not wondering where he's going to be hitting every day. But to his credit, man, he finds ways to help us win. Whether it's a safety squeeze, whether it's a catch or something on the bases, he just always finds a way to help us win, and he understands that as well. So it's just a constant adjustment period. And I think he's at the point now. He understands where he's being pitched, and it's just all right. I'm not gonna budge if it is at the top of the zone or whatever it may be. And he's got all the potential in the world to be a great hitter.
Yeah, Kirky, I asked Kirky, you about Kirky the last time you were on, and we were asking, or I was asking about bat speed and timing and had the lead called up. He's 2 for 16 the last 7 games. That's a small sample size, right? And I want to blame a little bit of that on the pitching, but John, I don't know if I can, right? He hasn't faced, or you guys haven't faced in the last week, some elite stuff, right? That just, good luck. Paxton, I guess with the Red Sox was one of those guys that, has dominant stuff and can work through a really good right-handed lineup. But with Kirky, he just a little bit confuses me, especially his numbers against lefties, his numbers against relievers, right? He's hitting under 200 against relievers. That might tell you that the bat speed just from one year to the next just hasn't consistently been there. Is there one thing you could put your finger on? Because, John, I don't know about you, but you have him at the bottom of your order doing some nice things, right? Driving in runs, man, that would make your lineup so long. Is there one thing you're seeing that you can put your finger on that says, maybe he's turning the corner. Maybe he can get this thing going and help your team down the stretch here offensively.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Kirky is such a good hitter and controls his zone so well. It's only a matter of time until he kind of really gets, breaks out of it, I think. And like any hitter, you're going to go through ups and downs. You see it with everybody. You see it with other guys and other teams. You look up and it's kind of not their career norm numbers, and that happens. I don't think it's bat speed. I don't think it's pitch selection. He just missed a couple balls, on the road in Chicago, and Kirky, it can happen. It can happen in one day. So when he gets it going, that's obviously going to make us that much more dangerous. We're totally confident that he will because of his skill set. The numbers against lefties and righties is kind of weird. We've dove into that and where he handles balls and where he doesn't. And I think part of it too is he's at the point in his career where he's got a couple of years in and the league starts making adjustments and he adjusts back. But when you're controlling the zone as well as he does, you're always going to give yourself a really good chance to get on a pretty good roll. So there's definitely signs there that it's going to be that it's coming, and that when it does come, hopefully it stays. And it does, like you said, it makes it that much better.